Hey guys, it's Paul, and today we're going to talk about the charge bay port of R2-D2, as well as the little warning sticker inside of here as well. Hey guys, it's Paul, and well, pardon R2-D2, I kind of have him apart. I've been doing a few little electronic upgrades to him. And one of them has been to the charge bay port here. Now this is something that you first see in The Empire Strikes Back when Luke and R2, obviously, and Yoda on Dagobah. During that scene, there's a scene where when Luke is getting unpacked from the X-Wing and setting up camp, there is a scene where R2 has his panel open and where Luke is feeding him power in here. And the inventive people that we are in the R2 builders, one of the members, Mike Irwin, had come up with a PCB, and it looks just like this right here. We'll get to zoom in here for you. And essentially it has all of the red LEDs, and there's a chip on the back, and there's some connectors here. There's some additional LEDs on the side, which I'll get to momentarily. And then there's a pattern, and believe it or not, a couple of our members watched the movie enough times to kind of figure out the pattern of lights as they went across. And then, of course, a great deal of us actually made use of this charging port. I used to. I had a trickle charger that I would use to plug into it. And here, I have my switches set up so that up was power and then down was charge mode. And that worked out really well, but I found that when my battery is getting older, it was better just to put the charger directly onto the batteries. But as you see, this gives you the look and feel of exactly what R2-D2 had in The Empire Strikes Back. And the pattern looks outstanding, and there's some little lights up here in the corner. I don't have those hooked up right yet because I've been doing a lot of surgery on the Arduino Uno. Now, these are still available. Glenn Harper actually offers these as a kit. I've labeled mine CBI kit. Stands for Charge Bay Indicator. And essentially gives you everything that you need to put one of these guys together, the LEDs, the wiring and such. I had to do one little tweak because one of the features that this has is the ability to measure the charge status of your battery. There are 3 lights in the upper corner here. Actually, let me just use this because I have one right here. And essentially, we have a red, yellow, and green. And if all of them are illuminated, based on that wiring, it would indicate you have a full battery. And this is all based on the programming on the Arduino sketch. If the voltage is below a certain level, then it's going to go to the yellow, and then if it's really low, it'll go to just show the red. And that's a pretty cool effect. I had a few little difficulties, but thanks to other members of the R2 builders, I was able to figure that out, and I'll show you some of those drawings. So installing the charge bay, well, it's actually, it's just this piece. Now this is a Jag5 frame. These are no longer available. Jerry Green doesn't offer parts anymore, and now they're available through Com 8 or Commando 8, and he offers various frame kits. As a matter of fact, he offers a frame kit where basically you just put this all, you've already got the half curves here, so it looks like a completed surface, and it goes in really, really nicely, and as you can see, the charge bay just bolts into the back. So there's a lot of different frame types out there. For example, I make these on the CNC machine. I got some video here I can show you, a little time lapse of them being made. And essentially what I do is I don't include the holes. Depending on the wooden frame, styrene frame, 3D printed frame, it's just safer to leave the entire thing intact and let the builder do the building and figure out what's going to work best for him. But essentially, that's all there is to it. After you receive the part, I used to offer these in acrylic, but a lot of people do use this charge plug. They do put a receptacle in there, and I just like the idea of aluminum because that's not going to give, whereas acrylic, over time it will. Once you have the piece all installed and the lighting hooked up, the charge bay indicator, I don't have one that's completed with all the LEDs in there. The LEDs will actually press fit and pretty much stay in the back of this charge bay indicator plate. So it's usually a pretty good fit. The only thing I would recommend doing, and it's what I'm going to do with the additional LEDs, is I'd probably hot glue it, just so you have something else holding the back of that to keep it steady, because of course the droid bounces around and those vibrations work their way up through the entire frame. So what I'll walk you through is I did get this all completed. I did have to do a little bit of soldering is not my best thing. I enjoy electronics, I enjoy soldering, I'm just not very good at it. But with the instructions that were provided to me, I had to add resistors to the positive and negative to feed back to this data line so that it can read the status of the battery and go back into the input line for the Arduino to read that. So that went pretty smoothly, and I have a couple of the drawings here just showing exactly what had to be done. Basically, you're just kind of tapping from the positive and negative and drawing that into that data line. And that was something I'd never done before, so I had a lot of questions. The other thing that I did, and I kind of cheated a little bit here, and I'll get a close-up of this. I read a lot of things about how to splice, and I happen to have a lot of these small splice that will work with this size cable. And what I did is, after I installed these, I also did a continuity test using the multi-tester just to make sure they really worked, because it seems too good to be true. Sometimes it is, so it doesn't hurt to double check. The other fun thing about this is, of course, here we have, this is the decal. My friend makes these. He is a sign maker and has a fantastic giant vinyl printer. And I've offered these to the club in the past, and I just haven't done them in a long time. But this is using the Rubish font, and it's kind of the standard as far as Star Wars fonts. And what we did is we did a little bit of research on the R2 Builders group, and we basically asked around and said, what does this thing say? I mean, you could probably type anything in here, but I'm just really curious, what did the intelligent minds at Industrial Light and Magic come up with, or Lucasfilm, when they filled all this in? And the general agreement seems to be a warning: don't put your finger in the hole. you could be electrocuted. Not responsible if you cause death. That kind of a. There's several versions of the story going around, but essentially it's just warning: don't put your finger in there. So there you go. A Star Wars secret. So anyway, that's where I'm at with this right now. The next step is going to be I have the red, yellow, and green LEDs. And I did solder those to direct wire contacts. That was a lot of fun. I didn't realize that the LEDs themselves were already, you didn't have to tin them or stuff like that. And I did get those done. It was a bit of a challenge, but again, I don't do this very often. But those have been done, so now all I have to do is, I want to use a little bit of hot glue to kind of get them seated in here, and then I'll plug them in, and then we'll do a close-up, and you'll be able to see the additional lighting there in action. And of course, the most awkward part about this is with my R2, I have a slip ring up here connected, so I can't really completely remove this out of the way to get in there. I could, but it would require an extensive amount of teardown. But we'll go through that and then see the end result together. Okay, so I've got the power shut off. The Arduino Uno doesn't have power. I have my red, yellow, and green. I've used colored shrink wrap, or shrink tubing rather, so that there's no way I can confuse these. And just to double make sure, I've even labeled the bottom as well, green, yellow, and red as well. So now it's just a matter of wiring these guys up, and I don't think these guys are going to friction fit in there, so I may have to dig out the hot glue gun, but let's see what happens. Okay, we got them wired in. Let me get off to the side here, and you can see we have the, so that shows the battery has the full charge. And right now they're staying in place, but there's no way those wires, or I'm sorry, the LEDs are going to stay in place once R2's moving around. The yellow one has a little bit of play. So I don't know if I want to try getting in there with hot glue, because the opening to get in here is not very big. So I may see about getting hold of some like gel super glue, and then dab them in that, and then on the flanges anyway, just surround the LED with a touch of that gel super glue, then insert them and hold them in place, and that should keep them in there. So I think that's gonna work. All right, so we have the indicator light showing the battery charge status. That's working. I guess I'm going to call it a wrap here. There's some additional information I'm going to list in the section below. And if you have any questions, I'm going to provide links as to if you want to get hold of one of those electronic boards, if you're building an R2-D2 and this is something you want to have on your droid, I'll post a link for Glenn Harper. He has the charge big indicator kits. I'll post a link to my where I make the aluminum faceplates. If you want to get hold of one of those, that's where the part run is for that. And for anything else, just leave a question down below. And just remember, this is where nerdy is cool. Thanks for stopping by. Take care, guys.